6 months ago, you couldn't tell me shit. I'm like, I'm watching my career go where I needed to go, and then all of a sudden it was gone. Like,
hey Raindrops, before we get into this episode, I want to invite you to join my community, my YouTube community, honey, of subscribers. So please make sure to subscribe to this channel. I love when y'all comment on my posts and my videos about all of my stars hopping on Reality with the King to share their lives. I cannot thank y'all enough, so make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Well, I'm happy you and I are getting a chance to talk.
I know.
Thank you for saying yes this time, because when I asked a friend of a friend if I can interview you, you said, fuck no, fuck Carlos. Fuck him.
That wasn't my exact words.
What was it then?
My exact words was, no, I'm not doing no interview with him. He was talking shit about me. And I realized we had so many mutual friends.
No, we do. But I want to say this to the world, because I've asked to interview you months ago. Mm-hmm. Okay? And we have a mutual friend named Marcus. Mm-hmm. He works for me. And he's also from St. Louis. So months ago, I'm like, yo, Marcus, you know British? That's my homegirl. Da, da, da. I said, reach out to her. He called me back an hour later. Yo, Los, nah, she ain't fucking with you, man. I said, me? She ain't fucking with me? No, Los, she said you was talking mad shit about her. I said, I love Brenda. What you talking about? So then I said, it's all good. Then a month ago, something in my spirit said, reach out one more time. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to Marcus again. It was on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I said, I really need to talk to her. My spirit is saying, let me talk to her. Tell me what it is. Let me also have a conversation with her over the phone. He made it happen. You and I spoke. And I want to say to you publicly what I said to you privately, which is I apologize for, because you took my conversation with Duffy, right? Mm-hmm. And we were talking about you. She was saying you're going to Miami to do the podcast. I'm like, what's she gonna do it from jail? Mm-hmm. And I was being cheeky, and I didn't realize at the time it was offensive, but I realized that now. So when you know better, you do better. And I said to you over the phone, I'm sorry. And I said, I'm somebody, if I do something publicly, I'm going to handle it the same way, right?
And I respect that.
So I want to publicly apologize to you. It wasn't my intention to make fun of you, because that's not anything to make fun of. Mm-hmm. I was literally being cheeky, and that's my personality.
Shady, I know.
You know, well,
a little shady.
Cheeky, shady.
What's the difference between cheeky and shady?
Cheeky.
You're the king of reality TV, so you tell me what's the difference between cheeky and shady.
Okay, cheeky is rooted in comedy. Shade can sometimes be serious.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, cheeky is like having fun with it. Shade.
Well, I just learned something. Okay.
Yeah.
I got that.
I was being cheeky.
Okay. Cheeky is I can agree with that.
Okay. But I want to say to you again, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
I apologize
I've already accepted your apology.
Yeah.
So I understand.
So before we get started, I just want to ask you, with everything that's been going on, and we'll get into that much later, but fundamentally, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm not going to say that I'm great. I'm not going to say that I am in this great space, but I'm working through it every day. I'm going to therapy. I have a really great support system of people that love me and care about me, from my family to my friends to, my daughter, even my daughter's father. Just everybody is super supportive of me and just making sure that I'm okay. Like yesterday, I had a breakdown over yesterday, and they come kind of if stuff happens, or they couldn't find my sign for the safe space, and made me start crying. It's random things, and I never was a crier, so it's been scaring everybody. All three of my friends and I live 45 minutes away from the city in St. Louis. 4 of my friends were at my house yesterday, just popped up at my house. We were worried because we never heard you cry like that. We were just making sure you was okay. So I think that I can't say that this isn't a uphill battle. Every day is something. Every day, one day I'm okay. One moment I might be okay. And the next moment I'm like, ugh. When reality sets in, it's a little different. Mm-hmm.
You talk about your support systems. I want to go back to your childhood in St. Louis. What was that support system like for you? as a little girl in St. Louis?
So for me, I grew up probably a little differently than most girls get to grow up. My mother did not raise me. My father raised me. My father was significantly older than my mom, 20 years older than my mom. So he had me when he was 46, had my sister when he was like 53. And I was raised by my father. My grandmother and my mommy Arlene helped with raising us and picking us up every couple of weeks and going over. My mom wasn't around, so I kind of helped raise myself when it came to certain things with a woman or kind of learning things. Then my dad got married to my stepmother, and she was a really, really good parent as far as like being there and being aware and being being able to speak to someone and talk to a certain extent. But with being a mom, you need you being a daughter and being a woman, you need your mom. And
Where
that
was she?
Honestly, like living her own life. Like it wasn't, and what's crazy is if you think about today, she lives with me and I help take care of her now. And I never had that from her. I lived with her for 3 years out of my entire life, from 9 to 12. I lived with my grandmother from literally 4 months. My mommy Arlene, which is my great aunt, but we call her, everyone thinks she's my grandma. She's 91. I lived with her until I was 9 years old. And then my mom came and got me. And me and my sister moved in with her for 3 years. And then that wasn't working at all. So my dad came and got us from her and had us ever since.
Did your mother decide to just live her life because she was young?
That she had a drug problem when I was a lot younger too, because I remember going to like rehab when I was like my daughter's age, like 5 or 6 years old, going to like see her in rehab, or like thought processes of like her saying, hey, like I remember like my 7th birthday, her telling me that she was gonna come pick me up and she was coming to my birthday party and she never showed up. See, those are the things I'm working through therapy because those traumas really do affect your adult life, and people really don't understand that. And then it's different now because I still found it in my heart because she didn't have any place to go or anywhere to be, for her to come live with me and me to take care of her. She doesn't pay any bills. She helps with my daughter. She goes back and forth to work when she feels like it, but we're just very different. I am a go-getter. I'm a hustler. I'm going to figure it out. And she has been a kept woman her whole life. So we don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff.
Do you guys get along now?
Sometimes. But I try my best to respect her, and I try my best to be there for her because I know that she wants to be better for my daughter, for her granddaughter, and I think that she is significantly better with her than she ever was with us.
And one thing I know about young girls, I was talking to Kenya Moore on this very couch recently, and her situation obviously is much different. Her mother decided to ignore her as if she never had her, but was living under the same roof. But what I realized in that conversation was, for young girls, your mother is your hero. She's the person who, like you said, teaches you how to be a woman. With you not having that, did you have to figure things out on your own?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a story that I think is crazy. I didn't learn how to put a tampon on until I was 20. And what's crazy about it is when I learned how to do it, it was from one of my friends who was older than me because I had never used a tampon. Like my stepmother who taught me and my grandmother who taught me about, being on your period, they just use pads. They don't think about tampons, or that they think that's not clean, or, that means you're having sex, or whatever their reasoning was. Because, my family is from the South, from Albany, Georgia. So a lot of things are like, ways and things that they think of are things that didn't kind of make sense to me now that I'm an adult. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But as a kid, you don't know. So it's a lot of different things that I feel like I missed out on as a child, not having my mother, and why it's so important for me to be in my daughter's life and to be there for her moments and every moment, because I can't tell you a time that she ever came to a volleyball game or ever was at a school function, or she just wasn't a parent.
So you growing up, being a teenage girl, how did you get started in being in this entertainment business that you're in right now?
I was going to St. Louis University to be an anesthesiologist. What's crazy is I was having a conversation with my friend earlier, and I was in the car with her leaving the airport coming to here, and I was like, I should have just been a doctor. I said this to her today. And she was a doctor. I was like, I was going to school to be an anesthesiologist, and that's really what I wanted to do. I would go to, my cousin was an anesthesiologist, so I would go to he works in Bloomington, Illinois. I would go there, and I would study him, and I would go watch him do epidurals, and I would sit inside of the surgery room when we had like that week where we were out of school to go do stuff. That's really what I wanted to do, which is crazy because what I do now, the one thing my mom did say to me, and she says it all the time, is that I named you British because I always felt like I should have been a star, but I wanted you to be my star. So she always tells me she kind of lived her life vicariously through me. And that's the one thing she did right. She named me British. She said it's only one of me, so I agree with it.
What made you not continue to pursue that field in college?
It was too hard. I had no life. I was like, I went from biology major to communication and journalism, and then I met Lorenzo when I was 22. And when I met Lorenzo, he was playing basketball overseas, and I was like, I've never told these stories, which is crazy. So my junior year of college, I was going to school, and I was going to St. Louis University. It's expensive as hell, and I needed to be able to get a loan for school that year. My aunt had like got my loan for my first year of school. Like my aunt was my dad's sister. I was really close to her. She passed in 2015. I was like her baby. She didn't have any kids. So, and she lived in California, so she would come and surprise us and come to St. Louis and all this stuff. So she bought me my first car, she did those type of things. And this particular year, she was very sick, and she had cancer, pancreas cancer at that. So she was dying. So it was one of those things where I really couldn't get her to help me with school because, she had her own thing going on. So I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I need to use you to get my loan for school because the parent that makes no money, I can use that person for to make it easier for me. Well, I got the loan anyway without her knowing about it. I sent all the stuff to my grandmother's house, and my grandmother knew about it. And she called the school and was like, you got money and you didn't give me any of your money, and she stopped my loan for school. That's why I didn't go to school that year. So I did, it's hard to give you experiences about her, and she'll probably be mad if she listens to this interview because she hates for me to talk about the real life of what really has happened to me. But yeah, she called the school, told them I didn't approve that loan. I didn't ask her to get that loan. And the whole thing about it was because she felt like I got money and I didn't give her any. But you know how you get money for your books and your housing and stuff that you need? She was like, you didn't give me any, so no.
Did you have to forge her signature and stuff to do all of this?
It's not, how you do everything electronically. Like my dad was like, no problem, we can do it. I think she ended up actually doing it with my sister because my sister has her master's degree now. So she ended up just getting over it when it came to my sister. But when it was with me, it was like, she told me she was going to go to school the next year. So she was like, she didn't want nobody having loans in her name and blah, 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 blah.
Do you blame your mother for you not pursuing your career?
I don't, because God was leading me somewhere else. So when I met Lorenzo, he was like, if you come overseas with me for this year, I'll pay for you to go to school. That was our agreement. And I was like, cool. So I went and I lived in Russia for 9 months. That was an experience for sure. Very, very cold. Very, very cold. And we were together for almost 10 years after that. So I wouldn't have my daughter if it wasn't for that. I wouldn't have done Basketball Wives if it wasn't for that. And I wouldn't have led into the entertainment. So me meeting him, I remember saying to him, I was like, I'm going to go do Basketball Wives. He was like, they don't let people from overseas people do Basketball Wives. And I was the first person that they allowed to be a wife or a girlfriend of somebody that played international basketball. So I think that was, and I ended up going to school after the fact, during the time for journalism and communications. So it kind of just pivot over into what I guess I was really meant to do. But I never had thought in my head that's what I wanted to do. I just was like, I'm going to do it because nobody said I can do it. That's my thing. Anytime somebody tells me I can't do something, my whole goal is to make sure that I do it and take pictures and do it twice. Literally.
Have receipts.
Yes, for sure.
When you first met Lorenzo, was it love at first sight? Is he your first love?
When I first met Lorenzo, we met at White Castles in St. Louis at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know if we were first love. It was more so he fine and he in a Range Rover. And I was like, okay. And I was 21, 22, whatever. So we started dating. And I didn't think it was going to turn into like what it turned into, of course. But it did. And I'm very thankful to have him as my daughter's father. He's a great father. He's a great support system. Us in a relationship didn't work, but we're really, really, really good friends.
Why didn't it work?
He was a cheater, and then I started cheating. And you know, girls can't cheat because when we start cheating, and it turns into you just being a whore. You're the worst person in the world. Like, you should be at home crying, talking to your friends about it. You shouldn't be doing it back. And I just think it was just so much turmoil that it just wasn't. We couldn't reconcile it.
Did he cheat on you with multiple women before you decided to get your lick back?
Yes.
And when you found out he was cheating, how did you find out?
The first time I found out he was actually cheating, what I thought he was not cheating, was from media takeout. Media takeout. It was biggest day, Bossip, when Bossip was like a big thing, and Twitter was a really big thing. I just looked up and my name was tagged 1,000 times. Like, what is going on? And it was him sitting in a hotel room with a girl, and the girl had took pictures of him and had saved his name under Lorenzo with a basketball and had sent it into a blog. And I was like, you're an idiot. I remember that day like it was like I went and left the house and stayed at a hotel for like a week because I was so livid. I was like, you embarrassed me publicly like that. That's crazy.
Did he cop to it?
He didn't have a choice. It
was the proof was out there.
Yeah, it was like.
But that didn't make him stop.
No. He did what he did. And I realized, I tell women all the time, if in 2023, the people have a lot of different relationships, and what they think is something that makes sense, or, you see people in poly relationships, or you see people that, are in open relationships. Whatever floats your boat is fine. Like, I even understand some of those ways now. But the most important thing is that when you're telling somebody that you're in a monogamous relationship, then you should be monogamous, or you should just tell them what you really want. Because most of the times, if you tell somebody what you really want, and you just say it flat out, they'll agree with that, or they'll say, okay, I don't want to do that, or I will do that. And most of the time with women, they'll be like, okay, I respect the fact that you told me that, but men don't. He was just very immature. Like, when he just turned 40 now, so now he's like getting into he has a girlfriend, a fiance, I'm sorry. She is really good to my daughter, so it's fine. We don't get along all the time, but I don't care. I mean, if I was his baby mother, I wouldn't get along with me either, so I understand. So it's one of those things where it's just like, but I wish him well in all that he does, and I always want him to do well because that reflects on my daughter. And we have a great friendship. He can call and talk to me about anything, vice versa. And if he needs me for something, I'm there, vice versa for him. And, we're just raising our daughter. We have a great co-parenting thing going on. We didn't have that at first, so now this is making me really excited.
Yeah, because, one of the things that we've learned through some social media battles, and I want to be able, because one thing about me, I'm a journalist. Hey, Portia.
Understood. I love it.
And I want to be able to make sure that I read the receipts properly, because I'm going to put words in no one's mouth. So I'm an older guy, so we're readers.
At least they're cute.
Well, thank you so much. So you guys had this big battle on social media.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one. I know which one you're talking about.
You said, and I quote, public service announcement, my baby daddy is a bitch. Let's make that very fucking clear. I do not talk to you. I do not bother you. I changed my number almost 2 months ago. You can't even fucking contact me. What the fuck are we talking about? You don't get your fucking child. You don't take care of her. You don't send no money. You don't do shit. You continued on saying, don't nobody owe you shit. I don't owe you no motherfucking money for some shit you fucking bought me. Are you dumb? Who even asked for some fucking shit back? So those are some strong words.
2020 had to be.
So what was going on at that time? Because we saw, let me just keep these on. So we saw some of the issues you guys were dealing with on Basketball Wives. Mm-hmm. At that time, you're dealing with a relationship where he started off cheating on you with multiple women. Mm-hmm. You felt disrespected, and tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth. Mm-hmm. You felt disrespected, and I'm assuming you felt like I'm gonna get my lick back because you're doing it too, and I can do it too. Look at you. You are a very beautiful woman.
Thank you.
You're actually. I was telling you earlier. You are so gorgeous. You look better in person on television.
Thank you. I love
television does nothing for you, babe.
Thank you.
You got your lick back. You guys decided to work things out. You know, what was going on in 2020 where you felt the need to out him like that on social media?
I left him. I got up. Nobody believed that I would leave. My friends, my family, I was like, you're not going to leave him. You're not going to leave him. Like, they're going to leave him. And I don't know if it was having Dash that did it, but one day I woke up. I called the movers. I had been looking for a week prior to that for apartments, townhouses, whatever. I said, I'm leaving. The movers were there. I called the movers on Monday, and they had all my shit moved out by Tuesday, and I was in my new house on Wednesday. And he was livid. He didn't want to see Dash. He didn't want to talk to me. I wasn't shit. He didn't see her for months. He was just really, really mad. And I know he was mad because he just didn't think that I would leave, if that makes any sense. Like, you know how you watch someone, and I haven't felt that day made me so powerful in my head. I don't care what nobody says, because nobody believed that I would leave. And I was just so tired of being, more so of it wasn't even just the cheating too. It was the fact that because we had did so much to each other, that there was constant bickering. So there was never any peace in our home. And I refused to have no peace. And I had a newborn. Like I had a toddler at that point. She was 1 year old. And I was just like, this isn't working. Like, this is not going to work. And Dash was 2 at the time. She had just turned 2. We had just had our birthday party in May. I was like, I'm gone. I'm over it. Deuces. Like, and I never went back. Never slept together. Never kissed. Nothing. Like, nothing. Like, when I'm done, I'm a Capricorn. When I'm done, I'm done. That's it. So it's one of those things where eventually we got to the point where we are now. And that took probably a lot of life changes that happened that made us kind of appreciate each other and say, hey, we're not together, but we are family. We don't look at each other like he's my family and I'm his family. And we just had to get to a point of maturity, honestly. And then I think I was dating a guy, and he was mad about that. He had never saw me with nobody else as we had ever been together besides the time I snuck off with, whatever. So he was just like...
Another athlete?
It wasn't another athlete. It was... I can't even talk about it right now. But he just... That was a turning point in our relationship and friendship. For 6 months straight, he harassed me. He popped up at my house. He harassed the dude I was talking to. He was trying to talk to girls that he knew. It was bad.
He didn't blow the guy's car, did he?
No, he didn't blow the guy's car.
Oh, that's somebody else.
But he tried to blame me because some girl he was dating had went and put sugar in his tank and it rolled on his car. I don't know. It had nothing to do with me at all. But it was just a lot of drama during that time. And it was just because I left. Like, he just was like, you got me effed up. Like, you're not just going to get up and leave me. And I did. But listen, before that even occurred, I had made him leave the house for like a month. Like, it got to a point where I was like, you know what? You need to leave for a month. Let's take a break. Let's figure it out. He just wasn't, he was adamant about what he wanted to do and what he thought. And the turning point was the fact that it was COVID. COVID was happening. And I had an X6 BMW at the time, and he had took the X6 and went somewhere, but he didn't know that I could see the GPS on the car. And I had left to go to like meet somebody to get something I can't remember the exact story, but I remember him calling me, like picking an argument with me, and me thinking in my head, like, what are you talking about? Like, you're on some bullshit. So once I checked the location, and I'm not the girl to do this. All my friends thought it was crazy. They didn't even believe I would do it. I was like, I'm going to pop up wherever he is. I go to the location, and it's like these like condos, like these like homes or whatever. And I'm like, I go in or whatever, and I'm like, the way they're set up is like these like little like units. So you can't tell which place he's in. I just see the car sitting over on the side. So I get out the car and I start walking to the units. But whatever made me go to this unit, I don't know, this particular building. The door was supposed to be locked. It was open. I opened the door and I stood in the hallway. I'm giving you real tea. And I stood in the hallway, and I stood there, and I was like, I heard a girl counting 1, 2, 3, and then I heard Lorenzo's voice. Tell it to come out the house. He runs out the back door. I don't know if the lady had sliding doors or what, but he ran out the back door. I had one friend on one side of the apartment complex and another friend on the other side of the complex. So when he runs out of the door, I'm trying to chase after him because I'm watching him. Like, he gets in the car, he takes the car and drives the car over on the curb just to get away from me because he knew he had been caught. This is not even funny, but it's like, damn, we've had some shit happen, and that was my I'm leaving point. I'm done. Like, you picked a fight with me just so you could go be on a bullshit.
Well, I was gonna say, so this is for all the ladies who's watching. If you're in a relationship with a man and he picks a fight with you, it's because he wants to make you mad so that he has an excuse to not be around you.
Go do what he wants to do.
And do what he wants to do. It could be the girl's birthday. It could be their own anniversary. When a man randomly picks a fight with you, it's because he's cheating on you with another woman.
I agree. I'm not trying to be funny, but that's really what's happening.
No. I just know that through experience having sisters and having female friends.
And I don't get it because routine is everything. If you keep the routine the same, no one will ever think that you're doing anything wrong. Why women are better cheaters. Men, they just get so absorbed in the relationship, and they'll tell you all day that they don't mean anything. They don't mean this, they don't mean that. I am a firm believer that the man loves his side girl more than he loves the main girl any day.
The man loves the side girl hoe activities.
Well,
but he loves the main girl because she takes care of the home, she pays the bills, and the children are good.
Sometimes.
When you are the wife of the main girl and you live with your man, he trusts you with his home. He wants peace at home, and a wife brings peace to a husband. That's all.
To a husband.
To a husband.
Yeah.
To a husband. The side chick is so she can blow in your ass and do some freaky deaky shit. And
well, your wife should do that too.
Well, sometimes the wife is tired because she has to get up at 6 a.m.
That's true.
While you snoring because you fell asleep watching Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco. So that's what happens.
That's true.
That's what happens. And I think when a woman is fed up,
it's it.
It's it. So that was you. Was he not? Because you mentioned in the series of captions on the gram in the video, I'm sorry, that he wasn't paying for anything. Was he not paying for the child or for you?
No, during that time he wasn't doing anything when it came to Dash because he was upset. He was like, whatever. He had even told me he would sign his rights over. I was like, you're just talking shit. Like you really are really upset. And he was mad. If you ask anybody that was around me, they'll tell you he was just like going off on the deep end during that time. It's like I had went over to the house. I remember like I went over to the house during this time because I wanted my truck because he kept my X6 still, and I had another car at the time, but I wanted my other truck, and he wouldn't give me my truck. He was on videos with girls inside of my car flashing money. Then I looked up and he had his other kids and they were at bowling with the girl. Before I knew it, I had went to the old place. I knocked the window out of something. The girl tried to throw a candle at me. Before I knew it, I told Lorenzo he was like, it was bad. He got it on video somewhere, I think, because I had just had Kybella on my chin, and my chin looked like it was down here, and it was bothering me when I looked at the video when he sent it to me. But yeah, the girl was trying to fight me because I came over there like, yo, give me my car, blah blah blah. And before I knew it, I was like, you gonna let somebody disrespect me? I'm about to beat your ass and hers, and that's what it kind of turned into. But it worked out well.
Let's talk about Basketball Wives. How did that opportunity happen?
So how Basketball Wives happens was Jackie Christie had came in town to do something in St. Louis for some kind of event. And at the time, it was one of my friends. His name was Pretty Boy. He actually passed a year ago from cancer. And he was a really big advocate in St. Louis he has restaurants and he used to do a lot of parties and stuff like that. And he had her come in for like a party or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to go talk to Jackie Christie. You know, I had ended up calling, having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, I want to do Basketball Wives, blah, blah, blah. And I went and talked to her and she was like, I think it would be perfect for Basketball Wives, blah, blah, blah. And, winter of 2013? No, the January of 2013. They started doing like Skype calls, like to get people to come in and like, audition and see who would be good. And then I ended up doing a Skype call, and then they ended up calling me, and I think we started like filming and did like a pre-film like in April or May of like 2013. And that's kind of how Basketball Wives started.
What was your experience like on that show?
I feel like Basketball Wives has never given me my flowers as they should, if that makes any sense. I'm the youngest basketball wife they've ever had until they just started Orlando now. And I always felt like I am appreciative of the opportunity, because a lot of women, girls, whatever, probably would have killed to be on television. And I feel like my first year that I did it, it was all about, it was a lot of like politics more so than in favoritism, more so than it should have been. And that's why you probably saw Basketball Wives LA change a lot, because like, oh, if this person didn't like them, then they'll say, oh, we're not going to film with them. Like you understand this because this is what you do. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we're not going to film with them. So then they can't bring them back next season. They switch him. Or, oh, this person didn't get along with this person, so they switch him. My first year, me and Drea didn't get along, and she kept talking shit about me and was doing crazy shit, and I end up like going to like copyright Mint Swim, and I owned Mint Swim at the time because she never got her stuff copyrighted. And my whole point to her was like, before you talk shit about me, you should have your shit together. So I called my lawyer and I copyrighted her brand, and I owned Mint Swim for like 6 months. She had no clue about it. And these girls that I was really cool with at the time, we got into it about some other shit, and they end up telling Drea after the fact, because I was going to tell her at the reunion, but she didn't show up to the reunion that year. She did like the whole, monitor thing. And they ended up telling her right before we were supposed to start filming, and she went on this tangent, I'm not filming with her. If you guys choose her, I'm not going to be there. And I remember vividly Sean Rankin fighting for me to be on Basketball Wives that season. Lorenzo had like proposed to me, re-proposed to me because of the cheating thing. We were supposed to get married that year, which I thank God for all of this, because I didn't. Mm-hmm. And it was just a lot of politics. So then Mark came back a couple of years ago and was like, hey, I feel like there was a group of different girls that should have stayed on Basketball Wives, and I want to bring them back because now all of the politics isn't there anymore.
And by the politics, do you think it was Drea having power because she was the fan favorite? Was it Shawnee?
Oh, it definitely, Shawnee wasn't there at that time. Okay. Shawnee was still with Miami, so it was LA, but that's exactly what it was. They told me that in so many words, and people don't really even know, but the next season, that season 4 that I wasn't on, when you remember Brandy and Drea getting into it, they were getting into it because Brandy and Malaysian, all of them were telling her, like, we need British to come back. Like, we need her. Everyone wants her to come back. And she was like, no, if you guys do your fucking job, we don't need her. Blah, blah, blah. And that's where that whole argument about, Brandy's, her cancer story being boring and all this crazy shit came from her arguing about me.
So when Dre made that comment about cancer being boring,
it was all a STEM conversation from Brandy telling her that they needed to bring me back and she did not want me to come back. That's the real tea about that.
Was Drea intimidated by you?
I don't know if she was intimidated by me. I think, first of all, let me say this. I always want to tell her that I apologize for my first question I ever asked her being, are you a whore? Because that wasn't really smart to do. It was good TV.
You was being a journalist. It's okay. I mean, sometimes you have to ask a question.
I mean, yes, it was a good, but I could have asked it in a better way. But it was good TV. There you go. But it was good TV. And I think from that moment, I just rubbed her the wrong way. She was like, this little bitch coming on here thinking she gonna do X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't come with the track where I was like a basketball whore or something like that. It was like I really had a fiance. I really was like, So I think that was kind of what it was. But I think that had we collided together to begin with in a better way, we probably would have took it over to begin with. But because it was like I came in with this attitude like, they not about to bully me. They not about to blah, blah, blah. They not about blah, blah, blah. And then my second time doing Basketball Wives, it wasn't like that. I was more like, hey, I did Basketball Wives at 23 versus me doing it at 31. That's a big difference. Like I'm a different person now. So I don't want to rah-rah with you all day, and I don't want to argue back and forth. So I think that I'm forever grateful for the opportunity because it expanded me and who I am. People know who I am because of Basketball Wives. And I think that not that I've outgrew it, because I would possibly go back and do something like I would have done Orlando for sure, because that's what they were trying to kind of do, was put me with Orlando because the girls were more in my age bracket. But I think where they are right now, I don't fit in with them. Like I think it's not that I'm just too young. I just think that my life is somewhere different than the rest of them. They really are married or have been married, or, you know, they're in these new relationships. Most of their kids, like Evelyn has, you know, her son, but most of their kids are out of the house. Like they're like at that age where they're more their second half of life, and I'm still in my first half of life. So it's like they all call me Baby B because I'm Baby B to them for real, and I understand that.
Did you make a lot of money on Basketball Wives?
Not enough. It's all right. I made more money doing all the stuff I did.
Is that the reason?
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, okay, I could say financially, it wasn't a fantastic situation for you.
No, it's not like the Housewives where they're getting paid $800,000 an episode or crazy stuff. Like, no. Like, even with this season I was supposed to do, I should have got it to my bracket where I'm like, okay, like I can be comfortable making this, you know. But no, it wasn't like I you know, I made it was okay.
Did you make over 10,000 an episode?
Yeah, I was right around around there. But when I first started doing basketball, I think I made like $5,000-$6,000 an episode. Then I started, you know, I gradually climbed higher. But this season I was supposed to really get paid, you know. I didn't like that.
Why aren't you on this season?
Well, I think this season was them bringing back, you know, Evelyn and Shani, and bringing them, all of them back to the, you know, trying to make Basketball Wives back original, because the original plan was for them to move me to Orlando and, you know, help do that franchise because they didn't really have any familiar faces over there besides Megan. But with my whole court situation, I think they were kind of like scared. And I'm like, but why are you guys scared when you guys filmed the entire thing up to this point? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I think they have a lot of people, and BET took over. So now it wasn't VH1 anymore, it was BET. And they didn't really know us the same. They kind of, like, I kind of watched them do stuff and like bring girls in because they think they have 1 million followers. But those 1 million followers don't correlate over to viewers. And I think, no shade, because I love Evelyn, and Brooke Bailey is one of my best friends, and you know, Shani is very supportive. I talked to her the other day because I have been, for the last month, been watching her husband, Pastor Henderson, TV on, or his church on TV on Sundays to help me. He's phenomenal.
I've been watching for the past 3 weeks. Like, seriously.
Literally, I just watched it Sunday. It was her birthday. They had.
He's good.
He's really good. And I told her, I said, you know, he's really got me through a lot of dark times. And she said, keep watching. She was like, I appreciate it. I'm praying for you, and I really care. You know, if you need anything, let me know. And I think, you know, but I can say is they I don't know, their views aren't good this season. Hey, I don't know. The radio show I was on went from number 1 to number 16 too, so I don't know. I'm just saying.
Are you saying your radio show does more numbers than Basketball Wives episodes?
No, I'm saying I was on the radio and so first of all, they created this. The home team was a show with me, Andrew Caldwell, and I know you know Andrew, and Shorty the Prince. Shorty had been on the radio for the past 15 years, since he was 12. And they created this show based off me and Shorty and Andrew together. And they had a local morning show in 15 years in St. Louis. And once I pled guilty, they fired me the same. Like, literally, I walked out of the courtroom. I had went through this whole thing at the courtroom. I got home to my house, and because it was everywhere in the media, like, for radio, I don't think they really understand how to deal with, like, celebrities and stuff. And that's really what it is. Like, you know, Nick Cannon has his own show, and Steve Harvey has his own show, but, you know, they understand the dynamics of their stuff. For St. Louis, a little small city, they're like, oh, radio is done off advertisement, and it's done off this and this. And I had a good salary at the radio station. And, you know, I walked out of court, I went to lunch, I came home, and I was on a Zoom call with our GM, and she was firing me. And I was like, why? I talk about what got me about Basketball Wives and about the radio is that I talk about my case all the time. I've never hid it. I even made it aware my first day at the radio station. I had a group, like a group, you know how you do like the welcome greetings, and I told everybody, hey, I have a federal case. If you see it somewhere, it's, you know, it's happening, blah blah blah. I've never hid it, and I've in St. Louis, I come from a city where if you don't get indicted, you're not getting no money, and I'm just being honest with you. That's how St. Louis is that effed up. I don't know what other way to put it. I appreciate where I come from, and I appreciate what it's taught me and where it's put me in my life, because making it out of St. Louis is very, very hard. But it's one of those things where me and my past mistakes and things that I've done in my past have come to haunt me in my career. Because I mean, I'm on the radio, I'm on television. Like, I'm like, damn, the next thing I got to do is TV. Like, I mean, like, you know, movies. I'm like, I'm there. Like, I'm watching myself. 6 months ago, you couldn't tell me shit. I'm like, I'm watching my career go where I needed to go, and then all of a sudden it was gone. Like, I mean, that particular thing was gone, and then I realized, as these 6 months have been transpiring, because that happened May the 24th, is that you have your own plans and you might come up with what you want to do, but God has other plans for you. And sometimes we can't see it clearly what it is or what that thought process is or where you're going with it. But in reality, what he has for you is always better than what you have for yourself. And I don't care what nobody says.
So let's talk about that, because you were going through a federal indictment, right? Being in court. You recently pled guilty. And I want to read it only because I want to get nothing wrong, because I don't want to make stuff up, right? Okay, so based on the reports, you pled guilty to 15 felonies, including 5 counts of misuse of a social security number, 4 counts of bank fraud, 3 counts of making false statements to the IRS, and 3 counts of wire fraud. The plea states that you used more than $140,000 in pandemic disaster loans to fund your lifestyle, submitted $139,000 in fake medical bills, underreported her earnings, and evaded paying nearly $30,000 in taxes. So that's what you pled guilty for. Talk to me about how all that came about, because that's really serious.
So let me figure out how to say this in the best way, and to be honest with you. So in 2017, in January of 2017, my dad came to me and my sister and told us he was dying. He had idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. My dad is who raised me. He was the closest thing that I had to a mother and a father. And that year was very difficult for me. Back forward to all of that, I used to have a very, and no one even knows this besides like my family and friends, I used to have a very, very bad gambling problem. Horrible. Like, when you think about people and think about people being on drugs or people being, being alcoholics, I don't think there's anything worse than gambling. Because you have this thing where you think that you can constantly make this money, or you think you could take this money and make it into this and make it into this and make it into this and make it into this. I had a gambling problem that was so bad that I don't even understand how no one knew, if it makes any sense. Lorenzo had stopped working around that time. We almost lost our house.
Because of your gambling addiction?
Because of gambling. It was bad. It was very, 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 very bad. It was horrible.
Were you spending money out of the joint account, or the money he would?
I was spending money from his money. I was making money, spending my money. I had a problem. Okay. And in 2016, I banned myself off the casino in Missouri, because we have like 6 casinos. And I didn't gamble for like a year. And then I went and I would start going to Illinois to gamble, because it was right across the water. And I did that for like a year. And then I banned myself off. And since 2017, I can tell you that I've gambled maybe 3 times. Like, I gambled once a year in Vegas or something. And that's it. It was really an addiction that I literally had to wing myself from. And on top of having my lifestyle and, just everything that I was used to doing, and having this addiction was horrible. I remember being just at Christmas one year and losing almost $50,000 like in 2 days. It was horrible. So that addiction had a lot of domino effects to things that would occur. My father was dying. My sister was still in college. I was helping him with her tuition. My dad ended up going to the hospital in May. He was in the hospital for 3 months. He died July of 2017. And then during these times of him passing, he left me and my sister insurance money. And I took the insurance money and I was like, okay, I'm going to do right by this, because I wasn't gambling, so that didn't matter. And I was like, hey, I want to get some kind of, I didn't have good credit. I was like 25, 26. And I was like, I remember meeting somebody who did credit and she was like, oh, I can get you instant credit instantly. I'm like, how can you do that? Good credit. She was like, you could just get a CPN. And everybody we probably knows have known someone that's had a CPN at some point.
What's a CPN?
It's I don't even know what the proper terminology for it is, but it's like they give you a social security number and that you build the social security number up. So when people see this misuse of a social security number, they think I went and stole people's social security numbers or something. That wasn't the case. I bought a CPN from a credit lady, and I don't know if it was somebody's actual social security number or if it was something they created. I don't know, but that's where that came from.
So because when I read the felonies, I did assume you were stealing people's social security numbers.
No, never.
Okay. So in a dark sort of place, a world, there's people out there that will sell you social security numbers, whether it's fake or it could be from a person who's alive or a person who's dead.
Well, see, I didn't even know all those things then.
At the time, right.
I just thought it was like, hey, they create a number, and then now you build your credit up, and you will be able to have good credit to go get things with.
From a different social security number that isn't your own.
Correct, because
Gotcha.
I had shit credit at that time.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was doing. So that's how that occurred. And each of those felony charges, it's like people think I have 15 felonies. What she did was I had a CPN. If I went to US Bank and I got a $500 credit card, that's a charge. That's a count. If I went to Navy Federal and got a $1,000 loan, that's a count. She made each thing a count. Even though I don't know if it was to make the amount to add up, because off the CPN, I think I got $12,000. Or whatever it was.
Did you know it was illegal when you were doing it?
No, I did not. That I did not know.
Okay.
I didn't know at all it was illegal. And had I known these were the repercussions for it, I would have never done it. Although I was at a time where my father was dying, we were about to lose our home, Lorenzo wasn't working, and I was like, I got to figure out what to do to get us to the next step so that we don't lose everything. And more than half of it was my fault because I was gambling so bad. And I think that after that occurred, I was like, whatever. And in the process of that, I met someone who kind of lived in that dark world. So she was like, oh, you can I got somebody, you can just put checks in an account and blah, 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 or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, for real? Nothing. Oh, okay, you could do that? These are the things. And the last part of my indictment is me claiming my little cousins on my taxes. That's why they said that I lied to the IRS, because I was helping my cousin take care of her children at the time. They were living around the corner from me, and I was helping with it. And she was like, hey, can you claim, your cousins on your taxes this year? You can whatever, pay me for it or whatever. She's like, because I owe every year, I'm always gonna owe. And I don't know. I come from St. Louis. I come from the hood, if that makes sense to say. And we never knew that was something you go to jail for because you claim your cousin or your niece or your nephew on your taxes. People really haven't looked at my indictment to see really what I got charged with, because that's what that misuse of the wire fraud was, because the IRS put $3,000 in my account.
They wired $3,000 in your account, but because it was fraudulent due to the fact that you were claiming your cousin's kids as your own, they considered that wire fraud.
What they did was they said, you lied to the IRS because you didn't take care of them 6 months straight. Then they said, because we gave you $3,000 and we took it from the IRS account and put it in your account, that's wire fraud. The feds can do whatever they want to do. I hate to tell people that. They really can.
What about the PPP loan?
My PPP loan was for $47,000, and I was my only employee. I did it correctly. But what she said was, your taxes that you use from 2019 are fraudulent because you claimed your little cousins on them, so that makes the loan fraudulent. That's how that occurred.
So throughout all of this, at any time did you know that some of this stuff was illegal?
Of
or
course.
any of okay.
Yes, at some point, the CPN, I had no clue.
Okay.
But of course, I don't think my mind said this is illegal, you could go to jail for it, because I watched so many people my whole life do it. So in my head, I'm like, that's nothing, you know? Like, that's how I thought about it. But after I realized what I actually had did, I was like, that's fucking illegal. What I learned through the whole process is the IRS is not somebody that you want to be on the wrong side of, ever, whatever it is. But it's also one of those things where people deserve consequences for mistakes and things that they make. It's just that the consequences need to add up to the crime is my thing. And when I walked into court on October the 24th, and I was sentenced to 4 years in jail, 5 years probation, and full restitution for a nonviolent crime, for a crime that, when it comes to white collar, that's not a lot of money. To the point where they added my salary onto my restitution from the radio station because they said that I filed exempt, so that was illegal too. Like, it's one of those things where they were just, I was like, and I think the thing that hurt me the most about the situation was that they blatantly told me, we are doing this because of who you are. You need to be held accountable other than someone else's standards that we would hold a regular person to. And I watched the sentencings of people being sentenced, and I'm like, this lady stole $4.8 million. She got 4 years. How do I have this in 2 years probation? Another lady stole $900,000. You gave her a year and a day. You're telling me that I deserve a harsher sentence because of who I am?
Who told you that? The feds?
Yeah. This was said like this when my minutes when my minutes can be pulled up, you'll be able to see that this was literally said to me in court at my sentencing. I think because they tell us that justice is supposed to be, and our law is supposed to be blind. You should be based off, you are charged based off your crimes. You are charged based off what you've done and how those crimes have affected victims. There were no victims in my case, but the IRS.
So because I'm going to be very honest with you, when I was reading the charges, this is before you pled guilty, and when I was reading what you were accused of doing, based on what I was reading at that time, right? Again, this is way before you were sentenced. What I was reading, it appeared that you were stealing people's social security numbers.
Never happened.
It did appear that you were stealing information from people, lying about the PPP loan in terms of not having the proper business to do so.
I had my business for 10 years.
And the other things that were included had a lot to do with, similar to like stealing from like the elderly, or stealing just from like, you know, people who aren't fortunate enough. And that's how it read. So that's why I wanted to really break down.
I never stole anyone's identities. I never took any money from anyone who wasn't aware or had anything to do with what was happening. Like, none of that ever happened. I never stole anybody's identities. I never took anybody's social security numbers. I never went and stole somebody's information and put a money in an account and took the money. None of that occurred. And they absolutely know that none of that occurred because they went and talked to each person and talked to the thing when it comes to a federal case is that everything is in black and white. The discovery, the paperwork, everything's in black and white. You can read the things that were occurred, who they talked to, what they said. It's all documented. So I began to understand quickly that the prosecutor had a vendetta with me. It wasn't about whatever, because I watched her do other people's cases that stole $2 million, and you asked for them to have probation. But when it came to me, she asked me to go to jail for 73 months.
Because you're a celebrity?
Yeah. And I don't think it's just because I was a celebrity. I think because it was a lot of media. It was a lot of promotion. It was, I don't think Missouri Eastern District has ever seen their name in People's Magazine. So it was like, even on my court day, you might walk into a federal court and you may see the people have their family and friends there. But when I say that every kind of agency was there and all of them made statements after the fact and all of them had something to say, like, it was clickbait. It was, you know, it was publicity for them. And I don't think that's fair. And I don't think it's fair because I should be based off the crime of what I did. What that holds, or, you know, I have no type of record. I had never been in trouble in my life before, ever, in doing anything. And the crime wasn't a violent crime, and the crime wasn't something that affected victims or affected other people's lives. So it didn't, like, I watch people that, like, oh, they do like the elderly thing where they stole $8 million from them, or another person, I took $30 million from the banks or something like that. When we're I watched a girl who stole 3.8 million get less time than me. Like, I literally have been watching this happen over and over and over again. And I'm like, I'm one of those people where I'm okay with saying that I was wrong or I made a mistake. Okay? But I want my consequence to match my crime. That's all. Don't overly sentence me because of who I am and because you feel like I should be held to a higher standard, because the criminal system is not made for that. The criminal system is supposed to be blind, where you're basing things off of what you see on paperwork, what you see the person did, what you see if the person had a history of doing this, if the person has done this before. And it just makes me, I never understood it. We talk so much about black men in our society and how the police or how the legal system really triggers them or isn't made for us, but it's not made for black people in general. Women, men, it doesn't matter. Like, and I never understood it until I sat in it and watched it happen to me, if that makes any sense. You know, we see people like, I come from a community where I have a lot of people that went to jail for selling drugs, or maybe they shot somebody, or, you know, they look at these things as terrible because they are things that are horrible for our community. But when we look at, you know, people who do things that are nonviolent, we look at, oh, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm not trying to be funny, but I mean, Teresa Guidance and her husband stole millions of dollars and she got 15 months in jail and went to jail for 11 months. I don't get it.
Teresa from Jersey Housewives.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like the Chrisleys, 6 years, and they stole millions of dollars. Even though it was it was millions of dollars, and they affected a lot of other people's lives. Every day I have this conversation with myself. Every day I say to myself, damn, if I knew these were the consequences to the things that I did to try to survive, I wouldn't have done them. And one thing that I hate that I see is that people's like, oh, she was trying to keep up with the Joneses, or, oh, this is just for her to buy bags and purses. I'm like, no, absolutely not. This was me trying to make sure my sister could finish her master's degree from Northwestern. Me trying to make sure that we didn't lose our house that was in foreclosure. Me trying to make sure that, you know, that we were okay. Lorenzo didn't work for like 3 years. Like, he had went to a point, and a lot of people could probably relate to this if they've dealt with an athlete before. Once they retire, they don't know what to do most of the time. And they go into these depressions where they are just at a point where they don't know what to do. And I wasn't going to just allow the entire family to just fall to the wayside. And I took it upon myself to do things that I didn't think I was gonna go have a 9-year sentence for, if that makes any sense, ever. Even some things that I didn't know were illegal, then things that I did know that were illegal, I never would think this would be the consequence.
Did Lorenzo know what you were doing?
Yeah, somewhat. It might have been some instances that he didn't know anything about, but like, Most of the time, I would say yes. Yeah.
How did you find out this was all going down? Were you contacted by the IRS? Did the feds come to your place of residence?
In 2019, the Feds showed up to my house, and they wanted to ask me some questions, and I was like, "What?"
Were they like in the movies in suits and stuff, or
They were. They were. It was two of them, and there was two investigators, and they started asking me questions. And at first, I was like, and then they came back and they wanted to talk, and I recorded the entire thing. So I still have it on recording, just as they probably do. And we had a conversation, and I was like, they were asking me questions. I'm like, yeah, okay, like what? I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know. Like whatever it was, if I knew, I knew. But if I didn't know. Like I would tell them. And we had that conversation, and then I don't know if it was because of COVID, but 2 years later, I got a call from my lawyer because I had put a lawyer on retainer just in case if something happened, like you've been indicted. And I'm like, I've been indicted. He's like, yeah. He was like, the federal agents came today to my office and asked that we set up a time for you to turn yourself in to be able to do it. And I'm like, okay. So he sends me the indictment. I look through my indictment. I'm like, I'm reading through it like this is... I'm like, these are the things that they have on my indictment. And I'm like, the indictment itself was like, I don't know, $45,000 maybe, what they had come up with. Because I don't understand how they come up with these numbers. They had, even with my restitution, they said tax evasion. You haven't paid taxes since 2020. But how did you come up with these numbers? How do you know how much I made? Like, I don't get it. Like, you see what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it's fucked up. I don't know what other way to put it. This is a really, really messed up situation. And I want to be that fighter. One day I'm that fighter, and I'm like, I'm fighting for people that come after me that says, you need to be sentenced based off what you did, not based off who you are. And the next day I'm like, just turn me in. I'm ready to go. Like, it's a constant up and down roller coaster. I don't even know what other way to put it. One day I'm good, the next day I'm not. One day I'm happy, the next day I'm not. It's in moments, and it goes in and out. And now that I'm fighting for the appeal and fighting to get to a more fair sentence for me, it's like doing it all over again.
What does a fair sentence look like for you? What would be fair in your eyes in terms of a sentencing?
Probably if he would have gave me a year and a day.
In jail.
When am I going? Because then that's like, you need to be... I'm not a person that thinks I'm above the law. I'm not a person that thinks that I don't deserve to have some type of consequence. But I have changed my life dramatically from whatever that was then. Even when the judge was talking, he was like, you did these things from 2017 to 2020. Well, it's 2023. And I'm at a different place. And God has blessed me to be in a different place. Now, am I saying that all of my things that I did before should be erased because now I'm a better person, or because now I have been transformed? No. I do think that I have very much so learned from my mistakes. But, it's just so... I never understood the injustice in the law system until now, until this last 2 years of my life. And I've watched how they do things and how they can create things and how they can make things up, and they can do whatever they want to do. And you have to have a fighter or a lawyer or someone there to fight for you, because if you don't, I even now I have come to the point where I have gotten so absorbed with fighting and seeing what people have going on and looking up cases to see what happened and how did it start and where did it end. And I've watched all the American Gangsters with all the girls on it, to watch all of their stuff. Like, I watched the lady who stole $10 million and got 10 years and at 25, and I'm like, oh my God, like, whoa. And then I watch, it's hard. I know people tell celebrities say they don't read the comments, but we read the comments. Mm-hmm. And I watch people say she should be happy. She got 4 years. She was facing 50 years. I'm like, my people really do not understand how the legal system works at all. They don't.
Well, it's interesting you brought that up, because your first attorney went on social media and pretty much blasted you. He did a video stating that he tried to help you. You would not listen to him. You guys parted ways. And he was pretty much saying the sentencing you got, the 4 years sentencing, had a lot to do with the fact that you did not listen to him and you felt that he wasn't doing the job that he wanted to do for you.
No. So the one thing he said that made sense was that I got hammered, because I did. That shouldn't have been what my sentence was. He did say that. But the reason I parted ways with him was because I could never get him on the phone. I had no cell phone number for him. I don't know a lot of criminal attorneys that you only can call between Monday and Friday, 9 to 5, whenever they're available to speak to you. And while I was getting an ankle monitor put on me, he was in Italy on vacation. And those are the facts. And he was just one of those, for lack of better words, white boys that just felt like he could do whatever. And the fact that I watched him say low level so many times, it wasn't low level when I gave you $10,000. It wasn't low level then. So I wish you had these same thoughts, that you still haven't given me my money back. But there is a bar complaint in on him, because we had no strategy. I never got to talk to you. This is why I fired you. Then to the point where I had, you have different stipulations of what you can and cannot do when you're on pretrial or when you're on bond. And one of my things was anytime I needed to go out of town for work, it would be approved from my probation officer. He was so unaware of what was going on with my case. He put in a motion for me to go out of town to San Francisco while we were in the middle of filming Basketball Wives, because they had given me an ankle monitor because he was in Italy not fighting for it. And it's like, whatever. That he put in a motion that was null. The judge came back and was like, what did you put this motion in for? None of her stipulations changed. Did you even read it? And at that moment, I fired him, because for the judge to say that means you're not a good lawyer for me. You're not even looking at my paperwork. You never even looked at the discovery to tell me what you saw. We never had a conversation about my case. All he cared about was if you were going to see his face on Basketball Wives on VH1.
How did you find him?
I was recommended to him when one of my friends was like, oh, you should use this guy or whatever, because I'm not giving him no names. Mm-hmm. You should use this guy. And I was like, okay. So I had put him on retainer 2 years before I even got indicted. That's the person I put on retainer. So when I finally got indicted, I had paid him up a lot of money already, So I thought he was a good match for me. Now, the new attorney when I got Bo Brentley, he got the ankle monitor off of me within 30 days of me even having him as an attorney. And, he is a fighter. He has he has beat the Supreme Court twice. He's really good at appeals, or he's really good at going in and saying, hey, this wasn't our agreement. We need to redo this over again. And, I have a lot of faith. And let me say this. I'm going to say this because this is me being honest. The last 6 months of my life has tested my faith when it came to my relationship with God. A lot. Within the last 45 days, I have gotten back to him and back with him to understand that just because that wasn't my plan, I have to be okay with his plan, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And that's why I've been watching Pastor Henderson for the last 45 days on Sundays, and making sure that I'm there to watch those different talks and motivational speaking and things of that nature, because those are kind of some of the things that help me get through my week. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's crazy that this is even a conversation that I'm having, because you couldn't have told me this would be my life six months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. I am a planner. I am a prime believer in, if you fail to plan to fail. And this is my first time in my life where I can't plan. It's not my plan no more. It's just not.
Have you told your daughter what's happening?
You know what? My day started off so bad this morning, and I won't say bad, but I was just in a place this morning. So this morning I was getting dressed. I was packing my bag to make sure that I got to my flight on time, and my daughter has to be at school at 9:00, and I had asked my mom to take her for me. I got Dash dressed. She ate breakfast. My mom was like, she came upstairs. She was like, okay, Mom, excuse me, I'm about to go. I'm like, okay. She walks in my closet and she's like, Mom, she gave me a kiss and I kissed her and she kissed my hand And I kissed her hand, and she put her hand up to my face like this, and she said, baby. And I said, baby, and she said, I said, I love you. She said, mommy, anytime you feel sad or you miss me, I want you to take your hand and put it up to your face, and you remember all the things we've done together. And for me, it messed my day up so bad. And I think I had a conversation with her about 2 weeks ago. And I said, Dashie, if mommy has to go somewhere for a little while, are you going to be okay? Will you still, my question to her honestly was, will you still love me? Because me not growing up with my mom, no matter how much I try to act like it, I have a sense of resentment to her. No matter how much I've tried to be there for her and her live with me and be there for me, it has made me, it's just something in me that I just don't get over. So for me thinking that I'm going to have to go to jail and be away from my daughter and miss kindergarten and miss her graduation from kindergarten and it's not even, I can't even put it into words. So when I have conversations with her, she's just so mature. She's 5. I don't know where she comes from. And even yesterday, this morning when we talked, and about 2 days ago we were talking and we were in the car and we were going to Walgreens and she wanted a new sketchbook. And I was like, baby, if mommy goes away, are you going to still love me? And she was like, of course, mommy, I'm going to love you. And I was like, I'm not going to be gone forever, just be for a little while. And I was like, she never asks where I'm going, but she listens to everything that we say. And what got me is that she said, well, mommy, I pray to God all the time. And I ask him not to let you go anywhere. And I said, well, where do you tell him that where do you think I'm going? She said, I don't know where you're going, but I just ask him all the time for you not to go anywhere. Mm. Nothing is more heart-wrenching than that for me. If I didn't have a child, whatever. But because I know what it's like not to have a mother in your life. I don't care if she's 5, if she's 15, if she's 50. I made a promise to myself that I would never do that to my child. So that's what takes me back to fighting for my appeal and fighting for a reduced sentence and fighting for people that come after me, because I want her to know, pray to God she's never in a situation that I'm in, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that she's not, that I fought. I fought to be there for you every day. I fought to be able to be like, my daughter is my girl. I don't know. And thinking about that, instead of me crying, makes me smile, because she's really my bestie. Like, that's my bestie. Our thing is, I love you too, to win, to infinity. Like, that's our thing. So even though God's plan is that's for me to go to jail, then that's what it is. But what I'm more so concerned about is that she's going to be okay. And that's what gets me more than anything every day. Those are the processes and thought processes I have. Even with, like, Dash is like rapping and she's into entertainment and she's like a little star in herself. And she went to the studio on Saturday, and her dad, she was at her dad's house. It was his week, but I came and picked her up to take her to the studio. And I was just so happy to just go to the studio with her. And my best friend, like, helps write all her stuff, and she's like her auntie Jer, and she's like, you're not coming to the studio no more. She wasn't focused. She wasn't this. She wasn't that. And I was like, I just am at this point where I want to do everything. I've always done everything with her, but I'm making it a point to do everything with her, just so that she knows that whenever I go and however long I have to go, that I love you. And I'm going to always be there for you, no matter what the case is. And I think I personally, and I'm going to tell you this, and I don't care how anyone sees, I think it's crazy that that's not even a consideration to our justice system about breaking up homes. They don't care. They don't care. They do not care. They don't care.
What advice would you give someone who may have fallen into the traps that you have fallen into, to get them out of it, or to not to even embark on this? Because one thing you did say that I think, listen, this may be something that a lot of people may disagree with, and that's fine, but a lot of people will agree with you in terms of how there are other people who do that. Yes, it's wrong. They still do it anyway. But not knowing what is illegal just based on the fact that, oh, well, I know this is what we do under the table or on the low, and this is what we do in the community and things like that. So what advice would you give someone?
There's so many things that I have learned within our community that we do that we don't think is necessarily illegal or that we can get in trouble for it. When you go and you use your cousin's food stamps card and you get a 40 for 60, it's illegal. When you go and one of your cousins has 5 kids and she don't have a job and each person takes a kid, that's illegal. When you go and you do a job application or you go buy a car and you have cousin Susie make you pay stubs, that's bank fraud. These things that that people do, the smallest things that we think nothing of, is illegal. And it's federal time because it's federal. Banks are federal. Food stamps is federal. Anything that has to do with a banking establishment or anything, those things are federal. And not just federal, because you can get charges for state stuff too. My recommendation is that take the hard way. And who the fuck am I to say that? And I felt like I got it out the mud, but I still went and did shortcuts to do things to make my life easier. And I don't judge anybody for whatever they do. If you scam, if you sell drugs, if you prostitute, because whatever. My advice to each person is really understand the law. And by understanding the law, you can understand your consequences. And those consequences will make you rethink the things that you do and make you do things a different way. I just really, really hope that my story and my journey can help the next young girl, because it's not a lot of girls that can make it out of St. Louis. Maybe me and Sexy, but I think that be firm in who you are, own your mistakes. And I think that's something that I see in the entertainment world, that people don't own their mistakes. And when we don't own our mistakes, it makes people feel as if we're inhuman, or if they can do it, I can do it. Or, and that's not, I hate that people say that public figures have this obligation to society to do things differently, because we are still humans. But I do feel as if because I've put myself in this platform and I've made myself on this scale, that it is my responsibility to make my mistakes someone else's lessons. And my dad used to tell me all the time when I was younger that a wise person learns from other people's mistakes and a smart person learns from their own mistakes. I had a conversation with myself a week ago. I said, just smart ass British. Like, I should have been more wise versus being smart. And I've learned that. And I hope that other people see that too. I really do. And I don't want people to think, oh, she's a celebrity, so she doesn't think that she has consequences. I do not think that. I just think that the same way that you judged Rudy, who did the same thing I did, and you gave her 6 months, I should be given the same thing. I shouldn't be judged harsher because I am a public figure, because that's not how our judicial system is supposed to be ran. Even though we know it's nothing about it is fair when it comes to us. But not even just to, I'm just watching things that as it has occurred. It took some of our biggest leaders, from Martin Luther King to Malcolm X, were assassinated, and it took 67 years after that just for us to get an anti-lynching law. I don't even think people know that we've just in the last year have been able to have a hate crime that says you can't lynch anyone. It's a hate crime. After all that time, it's crazy. It's crazy. Even with the LGBTQ community, it's been so many things because I follow so much with law now. I understand why Kim Kardashian is where she is because that's how I feel. It's like so many things have been knocked down from Congress this year. Why? Why can't people have their own understanding? Everyone should be legal to do what they want to do, and it should be lawful for each person, no matter their race, no matter their sexual preference, no matter the amount of children they have. I have just watched our system, and I'm definitely becoming an advocate for reform for sure. And I think you watch Lala do it, and you watch Kim Kardashian do it, even Meek Mills, but you see Meek's perspective would be similar to mine because he's went through it and been in it. And I'm making a pledge to be able to help people. When I'm done with my journey, I'm going to make it a point to help people. I started my foundation, Diamonds in the Rough, which helps incarcerated women and mothers dealing with, not having the support system and being able to get out of jail and be able to go back to their regular life. And, it's one of those things where I am so sorry for the things that I've done. But I know those things that I've done are shaping me into who I am and shaping me to my next stage of my life. The Safe Space is my project. It's my baby that I've been working on for the past 8 months. And the Safe Space is a talk show and a podcast where I have people come on, and celebrities, influencers, whoever, and have this safe space to talk about. And the reason I created the Safe Space is because I needed a safe space just to be able to be myself and be able to talk and go through my own problems. And I just, the media will have you fucked up. I don't know what other way to put it. And people don't even think to care about how you feel when you have to read these things about yourself or see things about yourself. And you have to be a very, very strong person to deal with it.
Well, listen, you are strong. And one thing I would like for you to do is continue your faith in God and walk with him through this process, because he's the only one who can help you deal with this. Despite what happens in terms of if it's going to be 4 years or 1 year, when are you scheduled to be sentenced?
I was already
sentenced. Are you scheduled?
I was already sentenced. We're waiting now to see, because I have an appeal in, if they're going to allow me to stay out on bond until they've come to a different conclusion about the sentencing. And then also about new laws came into effect November the 1st. Well, that affected a lot of people. Even a lot of people that are in jail, it doesn't go into effect until February, but it affected me. And another motion has to be put in for my lawyer to say, hey, she gets a reduction because of this and because of this, because of the new laws. So it's a lot of different moving parts within it. And I'm just kind of waiting to see how it all plays out. And listen, man, I have never walked in so much faith in my life because I don't have anything else to walk on.
But you also have to sometimes realize that all you need is God.
No. Even with how I told you how I felt about the last 6 months of me thinking, questioning God, I knew for a fact that was the enemy, because I'm in a place in a space where I'm not at my best. But sometimes God will make it where you only can rely on him, and
Absolutely.
You only can have faith in him. Losing my father in 2017 taught me that, and this is probably the most traumatic thing since then that has ever happened to me. And without God, I really don't know. I know it sounds cliche and people say it, but I don't know where I would be.
No. That's why my final words to you is stay in faith and stay in prayer. And that will allow you to continue on this fight for yourself. And the fact that you're like, I understand I need to be sentenced, but let me have the proper sentencing. So the fact that you're even acknowledging that, continue to walk with him. Walk with him. And I thank you so much for doing this. I know it wasn't easy for you, but I appreciate you. And I hope that people are able to learn. Because like you said, I don't judge anybody. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we're like, damn, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But we can't have judgment. So I appreciate you sitting here with me, being as honest as you have been and being as transparent as you have been, because at the end of the day, your message can help others who just may not know, who may not know. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Carlos.
You know,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, you might be one of my favorites now.
Oh, it's okay. Just don't cuss me out no more, okay?
I won't.
Okay, good.